Good morning, Jim.
Minnesota teams just do nothing but win.
That is the case, isn't it? I mean, the Twins beat Cleveland yesterday 4-1, and boy, Jim, that was when they needed to get just to try to hold off the Tigers, who just keep on winning. But they also are moving closer to the Royals, so this will be an interesting last couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, 11 games left, I believe, and they're a game and a half behind the Royals, a game and a half ahead of the Tigers. You know, if you look at the statistical models, the Twins have an 82% chance of making the playoffs. And as I keep saying, I think if they're going to have a chance to make any kind of run in the postseason, they kind of need to secure their berth early enough that they can set up their rotation. You don't want to see one of the kids having start game one of a playoff series. But baseball's very unpredictable. Who knows what would happen? But, you know, they played really well Monday and just couldn't get that one big hit to extend the lead late. Then they played really well last night. Cleveland has proven that they're an excellent team. They're playing at home, and you know the Twins finally won a game they needed to win here. And they're as rough as this last month has been. They're not in terrible position. You know, Ober's on the mound tonight against a very good Cleveland starter. Then they have Simeon with Richardson on Thursday. Then they go to Boston. Then they have a homestand. You know, I mean, for all the weird things that have happened this year, they're still actually in pretty good position.
Jim, how about Zibby Matthews and what he did yesterday? How important was that start?
Well, I mean, everything's important right now, you know, everything. And, you know, they really do like him. And young pitchers, it's always hard to project how they're going to perform when they first come to the big leagues. And he's had a couple really rocky startings. As I told you before, I've had Twins people tell me that one of those rocky startings, his worst start is probably because he was tipping pitches and they weren't able to correct it before he really got in trouble. But you do see the composure. I mean, that was a big situation for a young guy. He was in high A ball earlier this season, and he's pitching what, you know, not mathematically a must-win, but what felt like a must-win yesterday. And he pitched really well. That's a great sign for the future.
Jim, look at what they did offensively. Matt Wallner, I think you mentioned yesterday, he's been their best player, and since he came up, I mean, he had another couple of hits, drove in 2 more runs. He's driven in 36 this year. He's hit double-digit home runs. Thoughts on Wallner and how he's developed as a player this year?
Yeah, and of course, you know, as I was saying, he's been their best player for the last month or whatever. He was also like in an over 17 slump. So, I mean, everybody goes through slumps, and younger players tend to have those slumps extend farther than veterans do because they don't know how to get out of them at the big league level. But the production's there. And RBI is a weird stat. It's dependent on a lot of other factors. I think when you look at his isolated stats, his isolated power, listen, he's probably going to be slump prone because he has a big swing. But man, when he's on and he gets his pitch, he's a devastating hitter. He also has a tremendous arm. He plays really hard. I like pretty much everything about the guy.
How about Royce Lewis, betting 246? Did we just see a Royce Lewis that was just in small stretches dominant, and this is his first real glimpse of playing long stretches of games? And are pitchers approaching him differently than they did before?
I think it's all of the above. Pitchers figured out that they could get him to swing outside the strike zone. They didn't have to stay in the strike zone. He looks a little desperate at the plate. Instead of just taking walks, he's willing to swing outside the strike zone. So, you know, you're facing a guy who can hit a home run, and you know that if you throw it a little off the plate, he's going to fish for it. Why would you give him a good pitch to hit? He's also missing, when he does get a pitch to hit, he's missing them. It's that simple. You know, the difference between being hot and being cold is you get one really good pitch to hit at a bat, and when you're hot, you crush it. When you're cold, you pop it up or you swing through it. He had a pitch to hit drive yesterday that early in the season he would have hit 450 feet, and he missed it. It's just that simple. So I just think you're seeing a tired player. I think he's physically tired. I think he's mentally tired. The question is, can he kind of reboot here? And I will also say he's gotten a few hits lately, kind of some soft hits going the other way, and that's usually how you get out of a slump, not swinging for the fences, putting the ball in play, hitting line drives, getting a good feeling back, and then all of a sudden the ball starts going out of the ballpark. So he's been up and down lately. Still love his future. I just don't know what to expect from him the rest of this year.
Jim, I know you said setting up the rotation where you can go with Pablo in game 1 and Bailey in game 2 certainly would be a big benefit to the Twins if they do make the playoffs. How much do you think having the experience and some success they had last year would help them in a playoff run if they can have one this year?
I think if playoff experience helped teams, then the Twins of the 2000s would have not gotten lost so many playoff games. They had a lot of playoff experience. I just think you either play well or you don't. You know, you're either hot or you're cold. Pablo pitched great in his first playoff series last year. He might not pitch great in his second playoff series. So I just don't think it matters much. You know, I mean, Texas and Arizona had no playoff experience, virtually no playoff experience going into last year, and they ended up in the World Series. You just got to be playing well at the right time, and you have to have the right mindset and confidence, the right people hot. You know, there are just so many other factors other than experience.
Jim, your thoughts on the Lynx winning by 2 at Connecticut. Bridget Carlton comes up with a big 3-pointer down the stretch, and the Lynx grabbed the number 2 seed. Thoughts on that?
Amazing game. Connecticut playing with great desperation at home. It's an excellent team. Alyssa Thomas is one of the best players in the world. And it was a defensive slugfest for much of the game. The Lynx were up by 9, by 12. And then Connecticut made a dramatic run. And then it came down to just back and forth clutch basketball. Courtney Williams had a big shot. Nafisa Collier hit 2 big shots. Connecticut answered. Lynx are, they're down to the last possession, and you're thinking they're going to go for try to get the ball to Collier inside. And she ends up kicking it to Carlton. Carlton, by the official book, was 34 feet from the basket. Now, it looked more like 28-30 to me, but officially she was 34 feet from the basket. And she just lines it up and lets it fly, swish, and they win. And they secure the number 2 seed. They're going to play Phoenix starting on Sunday at Target Center. Carlton she's probably the most improved player in the league. She went from being a nice bench piece who you can play in certain matchups to being a starting player on the most surprising team in the WNBA. She's shooting like 44 or 45% from 3. She always is capable of hitting some 3-pointers. Now she's a 3-point weapon. She's always been an excellent defender. She just looks so confident right now. So that was really a stunning game and a stunning moment for that franchise.
So they play Phoenix Sunday. That'll be a home game. Do you know what time they're playing that game?
I have not seen times released yet. I think there's still some things to be ironed out, but I don't know. Midwest team against a mountain team. I would guess they would be kind of a mid-afternoon game. That's my first guess.
Gotcha. Gophers have a big test this week taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Both teams are 2-1 this year. Gophers get to play them at home. Your thoughts on the Gophers, and what do we know about this Iowa team?
It really feels like a typical Minnesota team against a typical Iowa team. The Gophers, they can run the ball. It looks like they have a good defense. The question is, how much are they going to get out of their passing game and against, this level of competition? And Iowa's, guess what? Good defensively, not great offensively. And so it's probably going to be another Iowa-Minnesota game that's fairly low scoring, and one big play at the end is going to make the difference. I mean, that's just the way this rivalry goes.
Jim, the Vikings are going to play Sunday at home against the Houston Texans. Both teams are 2-0. Jordan Addison did not play last week. Is he got a chance to play this week?
They sounded pessimistic. We'll know more this afternoon. They sounded pessimistic when I was out there on Monday. So we'll see. I think he's the least likely of Vikings dealing with injuries to play. But we'll just have to see if he practices today.
What do you think about what Jalen Naylor has done so far?
He's been excellent. He was part of the nice look-off play for the touchdown against the Giants. He made a great back shoulder catch on an adjustment on a play that they had not run in exactly that way. He and Darnold were on the same page and made the adjustment against a difficult situation in the 49ers secondary on Sunday. He got all the way downfield to block for Justin Jefferson on the 97-yard touchdown run. This is kind of what they hope KJ Osborne's going to do for him last year, and KJ just didn't have a good year. Naylor is faster He looks like he has a bigger catch radius. He just he's been both reliable and at times spectacular. Now, he's a third receiver. I don't want to make it sound like a Hall of Famer, but he looks like he's ideal for that position. And he's basically filled in for Addison very, very capably.
No worries about Aaron Jones and his health?
Doesn't sound like it. He was out for a little bit, then he went back in the game, finished the game. I talked to him after the game. He wasn't limping or anything. I would guess. Now, he's a veteran. They might give him a practice or two off. They might list him as probable or questionable, but my sense is he's going to play.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcasts?
Let's see. We have the Viking Update show up. We have the John Krasinski show on the Timberwolves. Also, the Lynx is up. We'll have Dawn Mitchell show coming out today with Aaron Chastain, the Gopher women's soccer coach. And we're going to have the rest of the lineup later in the week, including Chin Music. We have Mike Grimm on the Gophers up. We have Randy Shaver's new high school football show. Kevin Gorik's show, which is kind of old school hockey. Michael Russo and Anthony LaPanta on hockey. Our outdoor content, everything's at talknorth.com.
All right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column at the Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Next on WJON, World and National News from ABC, followed by local news.